Man, oh man, karma's a bitch, ain't it? You know, I used to make fun of guys like Logan Paul, Colleen Bagel Eater, eating a Pop-Tart 445. I'd make fun of all those guys getting into trouble and making apology videos, but here I am, making my own. The difference between me and them, though, is I am man enough to own up to my own mistakes, and I'm uncovering this controversy myself. Here goes. Back in the day, I didn't like Super Mario Galaxy. I know this isn't an excuse, but I was young, I was stupid, and I regret thinking that it's something that I'm gonna have to carry with me for the rest of my life. I want to apologize to Gerard the Completionist and Scott the Woz as it's their favorite game of all time. And I'd like to apologize to Video Game Donkey who said I'm not a real gamer if I haven't played Super Mario Galaxy. But most of all, I want to apologize to my buddy Angelo. He's been my best friend since day one and this drove him over the line. We used to be best friends and now he doesn't even want to talk to me anymore. Well, except for the occasional death threat.
Fuck you, Carter!
But I'm here to wipe my slate clean though. You guys voted on what I should review and you guys decided on Super Mario Galaxy. I played it and I'm setting the record straight by making this review and saying, holy shit, you gotta play this game. This game is now probably my second favorite Mario game of all time. Odyssey is still my favorite as I feel like it's the most innovative and it controls and looks the best. Galaxy is competing for second place against Super Mario World, with the highlight of that game being its character designs and New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I have a lot of love for the latter because it's the main one I played as a little kid, and I still remember renting it from Blockbuster and going home and playing it all night. A blessing and a curse is that Blockbuster either shut down before we returned it or we just outright bought it from them. This sucks because I don't have that iconic and sleek looking red case, but it's pretty cool to have a relic of the past. Sort of like owning an old movie from Hollywood Video. This isn't as cool as owning something from Hollywood Video though, because Hollywood Video isn't tied to a low point in Randall Park's career. But New Super Mario Bros. Wii is definitely not as good as I remember. I tried replaying it recently and I realized, wow, I had incredibly low standards. For example, these were some of my favorite games at that time. This provides a good get out of jail free card though. Whenever someone's mocking me or pointing out how disappointing I am, someone will always be there to say, hey, go easy on him. He grew up in a Viva Pinata household. I had some horrible tastes as a kid. Getting back to the topic of the video, I was a big fan of the Madagascar game, but I was turned off of Galaxy for a while. Back around 2010 or 11, I went over to the house of my best friend turned mortal enemy, Angelo.
Fuck you, Carter!
We went to his room, played on his Wii, and he let me try Galaxy for the first time. I played up to the B world, and after getting the first star there, I wasn't a fan. All the new mechanics and things like star bits instead of coins really confused my dumb idiot kid brain, and I never really picked it up again until this review. Honestly, up until now, I always thought Mario Galaxy was the black sheep of 3D All-Stars, and it was only there because they needed to fill the third slot. I feel like a big contributor as to why I didn't like this game for a while is probably due to some resentment buried deep down. This deep dark resentment is towards the fact that this probably awakens something in a lot of people. Not me though, this doesn't affect me. Just look at my search history, I have nothing to hide. Now that I've actually finished the game, I understand why it has the reputation it does. One of the biggest reasons is the music in this game. There are so many iconic songs in this game's soundtrack. Galaxy's music stands above the rest of Mario games, maybe bar Odyssey, and that's shown in its album cover. This is some of the coolest art I've ever seen, and it matches the quality of the songs. Same with Super Mario Odyssey. It has great music, and the inside of the cover has lyrics to Jump Up Superstar, like vinyl records sometimes do. You know your ears are gonna be blessed if a Mario game represents its music visually. The sound design in Galaxy is really well done and iconic too. Even though I barely played it as a kid, hearing the sound of collecting star bits, the buzzing of the B power-up, and the sound of gravity stars pulling you in hit me with a wave of nostalgia. When it comes to design in general, Galaxy holds the template designs in my mind. It's so well designed and iconic, but these character designs are their default looks in my head. Like, this is what Mario looks like to me. Sure, the design in Odyssey is better in my opinion as it's much more vibrant, but still, to me, it's like if Mario's design was better in Odyssey. Just like how in my mind, Super Mario 64's Mario design is like if Mario had a grand total of 6 polygons. Same with all of these characters. This is what the Lumas and Rosalina are supposed to look like. This is how Bowser is regularly. Same with Bowser Jr. Even Yoshi in Galaxy 2 is the default look for Yoshi to me. This applies to Mario though only on the cover and in cutscenes. In the open world they shade him with black and darker colors, which doesn't really look right to me. It's kinda got a bit of Smash Bros. Brawl syndrome, but it's nothing that ruins the game for me. The overall look and feel of this game is fantastic. The space background is really pretty, and Rosalina's observatory is greatly designed. The way it's lit up colorfully, contrasting against the darkness of outer space, is pleasing to the eye. And slowly unlocking each section as you gather grand superstars is a fun way to visualize your progression. And usually each world in Galaxy also has a unique and creative aesthetic. I think my favorite visually is Freeze Flame Galaxy. The clashing of the bright blues and reddish oranges create a stunning environment. Same with the worlds like the Surfing Penguin Planet, where the blue of the water is so vibrant, and despite the game's graphical age, the art style of the game makes the design timeless. Like, look at how great this looks, how the simplicity matches almost any graphical quality. There's no way you could tell when this game came out. Shit. And I like how the storybook sections use a sort of oil pastel look. It's great and a fun way to deliver a story, as well as give background information. Speaking of, when it comes to the story of Mario Galaxy, I mean, it's a Mario game. Call me a dumbass in the comments if I fucked up doing this, but I really didn't pay attention to the story. I feel like I can sum it up pretty easily though. Bowser kidnaps Peach, turns Galaxy's evil, Rosalina helps, we need to get Grand Stars, which we need to get to the center of the universe to save Peach. Lumas will eventually grow to be stars, planets, or galaxies, and it's heavily implied that Rosalina is Mario and Peach's daughter from the future. Was I close? Maybe Galaxy is the exception, but I think if you're playing a Mario game for the story, you're gonna be disappointed. People play Super Mario Sunshine because it's fun, not because they're super invested in Mario getting out of prison. Yes, I read that right, Mario got sent to prison. Before I really dive into the meat of this review, I'm just gonna list some miscellaneous things that I like about this game. I like how each save file is a comet that turns into a character's head, that's pretty fun. Using stars as the way to power up Rosalina's ship is a good way to make sure what you're collecting be relevant to the story instead of just collecting them for progression's sake. They do the same thing in Odyssey. Having stars power up Rosalina's ship so you can get to the next area is replicated in using the moons to power up the Odyssey. Also, Mario kills a newborn in this game. Twice! Add that to the list of Mario's characteristics alongside ex-convict. But the gameplay is the main attraction of this game, and I have opinions. Don't get me wrong, this game is amazing and the gameplay is so much fun. It broke the mold and made creative innovations. However, listen, if you're going to be the first to do something, it's not going to be perfect. This game deserves the praise it gets for doing unique and creative things, but there's still some jankiness and it's a bit rough around the edges. An example of this is when I was on this peanut planet and I'd literally just be holding down one direction on the analog stick, but Mario was spinning in a circle. This did happen a few times, as well as other problems related to the gravity mechanics of this game. The gravity also affects the camera, which can be a pain in the ass sometimes. The flying suit in this game is a good idea and a great sense of progression, as you can now use it to easily navigate the hub. But when you fly, or swim for that matter, on some worlds, it can be awful to navigate where you're going and where you're trying to make Mario go. The camera will lock based off of where you started instead of consistently following behind Mario, which would be a much better system. Honestly, the flying in LEGO Batman 2 is better than Mario Galaxies. Think about that. A LEGO game has a better movement mechanic than an entry in Nintendo's flagship title. Its innovation can also be quite gimmicky at times, with things like using motion controls for the manta ray surfing and the balancing ball, as well as the spring suit and spinning by shaking the remote. You can tell with all these motion controls that it came out on the Wii. The gimmicks of this game and its mechanics can make this fairly easy Mario game suddenly a bitch. I've lost so many lives to that dumbass spring, the timing to jump higher is whack as fuck. Same with balancing on the ball, it's so unpolished. If I never play as Spring Mario or on the balancing ball again, it'll be too soon. Shaking the remote to spin is also a pain sometimes. You should pretty much always just use the button. When you shake the remote, the game sometimes doesn't understand that you're trying to spin, and it'll think you're trying to collect star bits or something, which can cost you a life. Prankster comets up the difficulty a little too much, especially the Daredevil comets, where you only have 1 HP. The ones where you race Galaxy Mario are totally fine, but it makes me wonder, why on earth do we have characters like Metal Mario and Rose Gold Peach in Mario Kart and not Galaxy Mario? Which is a much more interesting character design. He'd be an awesome alt skin in Smash Bros. Another slight issue I have is the ice suit. Again, another great design for Mario, and it's super fun to skate around, but sometimes I'd be trying to spin to attack an enemy, and he'd do it, but spinning is how you activate the skating ability. So I try to attack, and then all of a sudden I'm flying all over the place, and all of the suits have things like these, except for the B suit, which is just a hover ability, which is pretty hard to mess up. You see what I mean about how this game's innovations are fantastic, but they still had some work to do? I absolutely commend them for making these strides and putting in this much effort, but it wouldn't be fair of me to use the novelty as an excuse to not talk about its issues. And I'm going to talk about a lot of positives at the end though, so real quick I'm just going to mention a few more of my issues with this game. One of which being that when I finally got all of the Grand Superstars, I was ready to go to the center of the universe and save Princess Peach. But then Rosalina said, yeah, the Grand Stars aren't enough, go get 14 more stars. This was a bit irritating as I had accomplished my goal leading up to the finale, and then the game just said, yeah, go extend the collectathon further. This resulted in me grinding to get those last stars done, and I'd already felt that the game was getting a bit repetitive before that, so this was just adding to that. A fix to this would be to just get rid of one of the galaxy areas, such as the terrace or the garden. Especially as there are a few repeat galaxies. The penguins on the beach show up 2 or 3 times, and there's a second galaxy later that just reuses the bee suit. Getting rid of those would have trimmed the game and eliminated some filler. You could have also gotten rid of the toy galaxy, because I fucking hate the toy galaxy. It also really pisses me off that my lives reset after each time I close the game and then later reopen it. I'd end a session with 17 lives and then come back and there'd be 5. What the hell, Nintendo? I was gonna use those 12 lives dying on a balance ball. And finally, my last big issue with this game is the final boss. The final boss with Bowser is pretty much the exact same as the other times you fight Bowser, except you have to hit him I think 6 times. Definitely a few more hits than every other time, and he also just turns into a big fucking rock and you have to get the timing right so you smack his face. That's about it. It was honestly a really disappointing final boss, as Mario game finales are usually rad as fuck. I remember my friend Angelo telling me he was also disappointed in this boss fight. Maybe now that I agree with him, he'll find it in his heart to forgive me.
Fuck you, Carter!
Okay. But I think I've bitched enough for one video. Let's get into the other great things about this game that I haven't covered yet. First off, this is the first appearance of Captain Toad. Look at him, he's rad. He's a toad with a backpack and a flashlight on his head. That's peak character development. Feeding the chubby Luma may or may not have awoken something in me, but I like how feeding them enough star bits in certain levels unlock hidden paths to other superstars. Speaking of, this game repurposes Mario staples in a great way, with coins now restoring HP and star bits being the new coins, which when you gather enough give you a 1-up. They also do really fun things like bullet bills becoming torpedoes in underwater levels and ghosts becoming the bloopers. I also like how they keep the health system from Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine, where when you get hit you don't lose a life, you just lose a hit point, which can be restored. A small mechanic I also like is when you jump, you can extend its height by spinning. This game has amazing boss fights, even though I was disappointed by the finale because it's just a rehash of previous Bowser fights in the same game. It was still fun the first time. I like how Bowser Jr. has a whole pirate battleship instead of just jumping on his head and avoiding him while he spins inside his shell like usual, or just trying to jump on his head as he flies around in his clown car. I like the boss fights against the newborn baby piranha raptors you ruthlessly kill as soon as they hatch, but definitely my favorite boss fight is King Caliente. He's got a goofy name fitting his environment, and I really love his design, and the sort of tennis match against him you have in his fight is really fun and satisfying to hit. And the ending of this game is really great. Going through the last level, getting to run and jump through combined sections of previous galaxies hits hard, as Super Mario Galaxy doesn't just end. It makes sure you know this is the finale, and it goes out with a bang. And even though I have my issues with the final boss, it all wraps up perfectly. Seeing Mario wake up and everyone celebrate in the Mushroom Kingdom, only having seen it at the beginning of the game, and now again at the end, hits pretty hard emotionally. And it honestly makes me forgive the grindy bits, repetition, and lackluster final boss fight. This game may have an anticlimax in the gameplay, but as the game finishes, Nintendo sticks the landing. I don't often give number ratings in my videos, but I will here just so my point comes across well. I do think Super Mario Galaxy is overrated, but just barely. From what I've heard, a lot of people would give this game a 10 out of 10 or a 9.5, and while I do think it's fantastic, I'd probably give it an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. I think maybe playing this game as an adult tainted my view of it, as video games have progressed so much in 16 years. Especially since I probably would have loved this game as a kid if I played it all the way through, because as we've seen, I have low standards. This is definitely a game I'd recommend at least everyone try. I'd understand if it's not your thing, but I think it's a very fun entry into the Mario franchise. Hopefully, if you haven't played it yet, you can pick it up secondhand on the Wii, or you can manage to get a copy of 3D All-Stars. What the hell were they thinking making that a limited release? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said earlier in the video, I put out a poll to celebrate 50 subscribers and let you guys decide what game I review next. And my subscribers picked Mario Galaxy. It was really fun to revisit a game 16 years old that holds up this well. Sorry if you thought this video was a little choppy, I'm still figuring out how to use my capture card, and I had to lower the frame rate to minimize screen tearing. But yeah, as I'm making this video, I currently have 90 subscribers, which is amazing, thank you guys so much, and I'll probably do another poll to celebrate 100. So if you want to say in what I review next, make sure you subscribe, and keep a lookout on my community tab for a poll. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, thank you for 90 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in the next video.